Hello there, grade 6. Welcome to online learning. Hopefully this is going to be a platform that works for all of us, but if you ever have questions and you can't get things to work, then please make sure you get in touch with me. I want to make sure that you understand what we're doing. So we basically finished a lot of our coordinates work in class, but we had to finish quite abruptly and it's been a couple of weeks. So I think we should do a little bit of revision and try and remember some of the stuff that we did. Now, if you're drawing a Cartesian plane like this, remember that's the fancy word for a graph, a Cartesian plane. I might write that. Cartesian plane. Does anyone remember who that's named after? We did talk about where the name comes from. Well, it was a French philosopher and mathematician called Descartes, René Descartes. That's where we get the word Cartesian plane. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. So, do we remember which one is X and which one is Y? Remember the little saying, Y to the sky? So that means the vertical axis is Y and the horizontal axis is X. So hopefully that will help us remember which is which. So Y, X. Now, do you remember when we write a set of coordinates, which letter comes first? We always say X, then we say Y when we write our little coordinates in a set of brackets. Right, do you also remember what is the name of the center of the Cartesian plane? The coordinates are going to be 0, 0, right? Because we're not going anywhere on either. Hopefully you remember the name. It's called the origin. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to practice labeling these things. So what I'd love you to do is press pause on this video and then I want you to write out the coordinates of all of these different letters. Goes all the way up to I, H-I-J. No, it doesn't. It goes all the way up to J. Have a go at writing those down and then I'm going to do them right now. You need to pause it and then you can unpause it to check your answers. So A is here. So we go 1, 2, 3. So we always start with X. So you should have had 3, 2. For B, B is over here. Now we haven't gone anywhere on the X, so that's going to be 0. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should be 4. C is all the way over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is negative 4 because we've gone backwards. And then we've gone down 1. So you should have negative 4 and negative 1. For D, which is over here, it's going to be positive 1 on the X. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, which makes it negative 5. E is over here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the X. And it's on the line, so it's going to be a 0 on the Y because it hasn't gone anywhere. F coordinate is here, and so it's negative 1. We always start with the X first, and then the Y is positive 1. G is over here. Again, this is a negative 1. Oh, no, that's fine. Don't worry, I'm losing my mind. G is negative 1, and then 1, 2, 3 down, so it's negative 3. H is right in the center. That's the origin, which is always 0, 0. I is over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the X, and then it goes up 1. And then J is going to be 1, 2, 3 on the X, and it's only gone down 1. So hopefully those are the answers you got. Now we can also talk about coordinates. Oh, actually, the other thing I was going to say before we move on, hopefully you remember which quadrant is which. We talked about the names of the quadrants. So this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, 3, and 4. So we always start in the top right where everything's positive, and then we just go around anti-clockwise. So here, both X and Y are positive, right? We've got positive Y and positive X. Then in this one here, we've got negative X and positive Y, right? So we go negative X, but we're still in the positives of Y. Here, we've got two negatives. We've got negative X and negative Y. And here, we have positive X, but negative Y, all right? So if you get given some values, let's say that I gave you, we'll call A 1, negative 7, and we'll call B negative 3 and 4. And I want to know which quadrant they're in. So I'm just going to have a look at my little symbols and say X has to be positive, which means it's got to be on this side. So it's one of these two, but then Y has to be negative. So it's down here. So that means A would be in quadrant 4. And B is negative 3, so it goes across here, 1, 2, 3, negative 3, and it's positive 4, so we're going up, so we must be in quadrant 2. So sometimes you don't have to draw a graph to be able to tell what quadrant you're in if you're being asked to do that. If you want to draw things and that's really helpful for you, then that's fine. Feel free to draw things. But if you're not told to, you can just use this rule to be able to work out what quadrant you should be in. Okay, so sometimes we're doing coordinates on a Cartesian plane, but sometimes we can just use a number line as well. Let's turn the page and make a number line. All right, so I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to go up by 0.1 every time. So this is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 7, 8, 9, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be 1.4, and that's how far I went. So it doesn't really matter where we are. So let's say that I'm going to call this A. I'm going to call this B. And I'm going to be a bit tricky, and I'm going to call this one C. All right, so A. So if I said we're going up by 0.1 every time, so this is 0, 0.1, 0.2. So this is just 0.2. B is all the way up here. Now I can do it in two ways. I can count up from here, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, or I can just recognize that it's 1 under 1. So 0.1 less than 1 is 0.9. I don't mind which way you want to think about it. Now this one I put halfway between, so that's going to make it a little bit trickier. So this is 1, 1.1, 1.2, and this is 1.3. So it's got to be halfway between 1.2 and 1.3, which I hope you realize makes it 1.25. You can think of this as like a 20 and a 30, and halfway between 20 and 30, because remember we can just add zeros on the end if we want after a decimal place. And then halfway between 20 and 30 is going to be 25. So you may need to do some things like that. That's basically what we did, just lots and lots of practice on those sorts of things. So if you've got questions and you're not sure how to do this, please get in touch with me, or you can watch this again, or you can just go back and do some more practice out of the book. All right, good luck.